Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Hello, Linda. It's so good to see you here. I hope your Thursday is going well. We are in for a heat wave, like probably a third of the country. We're going to be feeling like temperatures are going to be in the hundreds. So stay hydrated, stay inside if you can. Just be very mindful of the heat, and what a better reason to stay inside and do some crafting. And I think when you see this project today, you're going to be busy making more. So I am really excited to show you this card today. Now, it was inspired when I saw this this shape, and what it was used for. I got to thinking I need one more Christmas in July card, and I wanted to get away from the bauble set. So when I saw it, I just had to use my imagination, and then I had to figure out how it's going to be done. So, and it's so super easy. So we're going to use it in a way of Christmas today. But what I want you to keep in mind is this shape can be used in any of your card making for any occasion. Look at it as just another shape. It's you know, as if it's a circle or a square, any shape, and know that you can use it in any card layout. Okay, so just don't get fixated on what it's going to look like to represent the holidays. Keep an open mind, and again, you'll be able to use this shape and what we're going to create today with these triangles for any occasion. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera around, and if you're new, by the way, I'm Julie Heights, the chirpy card maker of quilts and more, and I'm so glad that you're here. So I'm going to flip the camera around, I'm going to move some things around on my workspace, and I would like you all to say good morning to each other. Okay, where's my widget? There we go. Okay, I just have to get some things rearranged on my desk, and I think we'll bring this stuff in first. Now I'm going to raise my camera, so just don't get dizzy on me. Okay, that's pretty good. Want to see what that looks like. Okay. Get my shirt out of the way. Okay, that wide angle lens. Let's see who's all here today. Hi, Susan. And a second Linda. Hi, Sandra. Third Linda. Kay. Do you guys think we can beat 3 Lindas and get a 4th? Hey, Patricia and Jasmine, Vesta, Diane, Tony. Hey, Tony. Hi, Sheila. Sandy, Sandra, Louise, Sharon. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Peggy. And let's see. Okay, let's get going. So, I don't know. Hey, there's our 4th Linda. Linda V. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Carol. Okay, so I don't talk about it a lot, but I've taken my time getting on board with the whole Turtley Cute Suite. I've had the bundle in my cart several times, and I take it back out. As far as like the stamp and dies, I'm still on the fence. The one thing that I really like is the little birds, but still I'm kind of like, I don't know. But I did get the designer series paper, and I am so glad I did, because the B sides of the paper fit in perfectly to this plan I had for today's card. So I'm all for the designer series paper. In fact, I ordered another pack because I am already getting low on these two designs. This stripe is adorable. And then this pattern right here, when I took a closer look at it and thought I can use that for Christmas, this designer series paper took on a whole new meaning to me. So, and then I've got my two-toned cardstock. I hope everybody took advantage of that sale when it was going on. So, and I've got that in Granny Apple Green, which is just a color that I pulled out of the print here. Okay? So, still on the fence about anything else, but I will say the turtles are growing on me. It's a good thing they're in the annual catalog, because it might take me another 6 months to actually keep it in my cart and add it to all my stamps and stuff. Okay, so just want to know, how do you guys feel about the Turtley Cute bundle? Is it a yay or a nay? I was strictly a nay, but now I'm kind of in the middle. I jump on the fence and then I jump off. So I don't know. I just wondered how you guys feel about it. Hi, Deborah. How are you? Hey, Sharon and Colleen. Dorothy, welcome everybody. Okay, so let's look at what I posted as far as prep. Okay, so I've got a card base that's a half a sheet of cardstock. So it's 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it at 5 1/2. Okay, and again, I was just pulling a green that I thought I saw in the paper. This paper really is more maybe garden green, but I do see it leaning towards shaded spruce. So I pulled that, and plus I can see shaded spruce in my stripe here. So that's an explanation for that. Now I'm going to try to come in a little closer. Okay. So I was getting out the greens. And another piece, some more pieces to prep was, speaking of that stripe, I've got a 1 7/8 by 5. Well, that's what we're going to cut, is 2 strips out of this 1 7/8 by 12. I am going to cut 2 pieces that are 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, so when we bring the trimmer in, we'll cut this 12-inch strip down. I've got a piece of basic white that's 2 inches by 5 1/4. I've got a 3-inch square of green, and I just used shaded spruce again. You'll see in my samples that I've got to show you, I actually changed the color of my card base, but kept my green, and it still works. Okay. And then we started out with 2 1 1/2 inch squares, and this is where the two-tone cardstock came in. And then I had 2 1 1/4 inch squares of the designer series paper. And what I had you do some homework, is you cut these squares diagonally in both directions, so that you got 4 1/4 square triangles, but a total of 8 when you did the 2 pieces. And then what I had you do as homework is, let me bring in this white so that you can see. What I had you do was I had you adhere the smaller triangle to the larger triangle. Okay? And so that was your homework. And you should have 8. You should have 8 triangles, if I can pick all mine up. So that was the homework. Okay? And I'll just have to make more cards because I got to use these. I'll set those aside. And let's get started with let's bring the trimmer in. Okay? So kind of, I'm going to get these out of the way. I just wanted to show you how gorgeous the paper is. And I want you to keep in mind, there's another pattern in that pack that I'm going to play with this one because I think it will work. Just the different, just the shapes and stuff and the different colors. That is worth taking a look at for this card, but that's a whole nother thing. Okay, so let's bring in our trimmer. Did I lose a triangle? I hope not. And let's bring in that 12-inch strip, that stripe. Now it's 1 7/8, but we're going to cut it at 5 1/4, and we're going to do that twice. 5 1/4. Okay. You can put those 2 pieces. This is a scrap. I'm sure you can find something to use with that. And what else do we need to do? Okay. Let's bring in that 3-inch square. Now we need to put a grid on our 3-inch square. So that we have something to go by. Now you can do that by drawing with a pencil and a ruler, or you can use your scoring blade on your trimmer. I started with using a pencil and a ruler, and we're gonna do 2 sides together. I've already done one, but basically what we're doing is we're going to draw a 3/4 inch line on all 4 sides. So if I put this at 3/4 inch, and I bring in, I love this Omni Grid ruler because I can line, it's see-through, and I can line up the 3/4 inch marks here and just finish drawing my lines. Now these are going to be hard for you to see because number one, I'm on dark cardstock and it's a pencil, and it's going to be a little hard to see. But what we're doing is we want a 3/4 inch line on all 4 sides. So this is what it's going to look like. Your center square is going to be bigger, but don't even worry about any of this. This grid is on here just for placement of our triangles, to give us something to go by. Okay? So the other thing, put that aside, bring in your card base. Because we might as well just put the card base together and then do the quilt block. From the score line, we are going to cut it in half at 2 1/8 of an inch. So now I'm going to try and do this upside down because I want you to see what I'm doing here. So I've got my paper lined up at 2 1/8 because 2 1/8 is half of 4 1/4. I'm going to bring in my cutting blade, and I'm going to put my notch that is on the side right on that score line, and just cut it in half. Okay, so you have like 2 legs here. Okay, or you have you got like 2 legs. Now keep in mind, you can do this layout in portrait or in landscape. I did all my samples in landscape, but I'm thinking by the time I get done with it, I might try this in portrait. So put your trimmer away. Let's fold our card in half, line up our corners, make sure everything's square, and then give that score line a nice crease. Okay, so this is what your card base looks like right now. Okay, so I've already tested this out, and it works in portrait or landscape with the paper that I had in mind. So putting it together, you'll see me putting it together in landscape, but I just might change my mind by the time I put the focal point on and change the direction. But for right now, this is going to be the same. So I like to get what I don't need to see out of the way, because now I can see that I want to leave this nice little border. So you're going to put a piece of your designer series paper on that top portion. This layout, you guys, is really, really simple. Keeping the focus on the main event, which we haven't done yet, and it leaves you room for embellishing. If you're a heavy embellisher, you will have room for that. But I love it's a very clean look if you just leave it simple. So there's that. Did I just do this wrong? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Now, oh, Julie. So we're going to glue this flap right down to the cardstock. I've seen cards done where you cut this flap off, and I would just put my designer series paper here, but I wanted some stability to the card, and having that extra layer makes it have a really nice weight to it. So glue that down. So now you just are left with this. This 2" by 5 1/4 piece of basic white, if you're going to do any stamping, do it before you glue this on, okay? But this is going to fit right up to that lip that's created by gluing this flap down. And now you see that you're going to have even amounts of your card base. The color, it should be pretty even all the way around and then right down the middle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Again, I'm going to use that lip, and I'm off a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so that's part of our card base. And now I'm just going to open it so that, again, I can just see this, and we're going to put our other piece down here on the bottom. Now, something I want to look at is, I'm just wondering if I can line up my, oh, my stripes aren't going to match, but that's okay. That's okay. That's just getting picky. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that, because the focal point is going to be all they see. Okay, so here's our card base. Okay, and again, I can do this in portrait or landscape. That will be a decision to make in the end. Okay, so let's put the card base aside. Hi, Ruby. I'm so glad that you could make it. Hi, Jean. Jean, did you notice I'm missing something on my hand? I was drying my hands off after doing dishes and I broke my bracelet. Hi, Carrie and Melinda. Okay, so we've got some nays and some people that are still on the fence with the Turtley Cute. Tony, I know that you like them. So, you know, I'm hoping that all of us, by the time, before the annual catalog changes, I hope that we all find that we're ready to go with those, with the turtles. Like I said, right now, if I was to get it, I like a couple of the sentiments, and I love the little birds. So those are the two selling points for me, but I just haven't been able to commit yet. Okay, so let's bring in our 3-inch square, and let's bring in our triangles. You guys are gonna love this shape, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, let me bring this up here and get my little pointy tool here. I'm gonna concentrate on the widest sides of the square first. And like I do a lot of the time, in order for me to not have to, you know, like guess which way the triangle goes, I'm going to work the same way each time. So when I put my triangle up here, I'm going to go 1, 2, I'm going to turn it twice so I get back to this larger area. And that way my triangle is going to be positioned the same way each time. And my hand's not like doing this, or like I don't know which direction this triangle is supposed to go. Muscle memory, and all I have to remember is just one direction. And then we will fill in the other pieces as we go. But we're going to start by focusing on that wider area. And I think it might be a good time to come in just a little bit closer. Okay. I'll just need to remember to change that. So let's let Facebook catch up here. And you'll notice that some of my triangles, I attach the DSP to the lighter side of the two-tone cardstock and some to the darker side, but it's just to bring in some more greens, okay? Just, you know, just a thing I was playing around with. Okay, so we have our square. I'm going to take one of my triangles. Ooh, my hands don't look very good. I have been in the garden. I have lost nails. Had to get into the garden before the heat. So I am always going to be handling my triangles with the corner up here and on the right side. Okay? I'm always going to be handling my triangles this way. So what I'm going to do is I want to come down about 1/8 of an inch, and I want to center this in that wide area. Now this doesn't have to be an exact science. You just got to eyeball it, okay? And this wide area is longer than what that side of the triangle is, but that's okay. All right. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to bring in my fine tip glue for this. just going to, don't push anything down too hard yet. That doesn't look too bad. And then I'm going to rotate it. Once is on point, 2 is square. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to put another triangle down. Again, putting it down the same way, in the same direction. And I'm going to go 1, 2. Again, my triangle, the mountain peak is going to be on the right. And then 1 and 2, and I'll have triangles in all of the widest areas of that 3-inch square. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the corners. Okay, boy, it looks dark. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it just once. And now my square is on point. I'm going to hold the triangle the same way. And what I want to do is I am going to look to connect, make it look like I'm connecting these 2 points right here. Okay. So still going in the same position, but I'm filling in that triangle, okay? Or triangle, that corner, I mean. And you're just looking to get some equal spacing between your triangles. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Now we're going to count twice, once, twice, and you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to fill this in. Just connect these 2 points here by filling in that space with your triangle. 1, 2. And 1 and 2. So this is what like a true aperture would look like. We've done the aperture layout where we had a square on point and then we just had the pieces going around it. This is really a truer picture of what an aperture looks like. If you've done any photography, you'll recognize this shape. But the aperture looks like this, like the window when you're in photography. If your aperture is wide, it's and your center is bigger, it's letting more light hit the sensor in your, you know, in your camera. Where if this is really, really tiny, then it closes the aperture. So, but if this was just to go in and out like this, that's what an aperture really looks like. And Tony, I'm glad that you said that it looks like a wreath, because that's what we're trying to do. Okay. And now what we need to do is we're going to cut off our corners. Okay. And I have found I've done it both ways. I cut my corners off first and then made my triangles fit. It's up to you, but I think you can get a better sense of if you're trying to even it out. It doesn't really matter. You just want to cut off your corners. So you can do this with your trimmer, or you can take your snips and you can just cut. Now you could go from this corner to that corner, which that's going to be a little wider. And then it looks like it might, no, it looks about the same on all of them. I probably could have come away a little bit more and pushed this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to guess at it. Just want that nice border all the way around. I've done it where I've cut my corners first, just going from, you know, the pencil line to the pencil line. I got so excited we started laying triangles down first. I'm glad that I've done it both ways. Okay. Now, if you've got any pencil lines showing, if they're really noticeable, you're going to want to erase those. If they're not so noticeable, like on this green, you really can't see that little pencil line. And another thing is we need to quilt our wreath. So the quilting that we're going to be doing is just laying in some texture. Our piecing was all done with our quarter square triangles. Remember, when you cut a square diagonally in both directions, you get 4 triangles. So they're quarter square triangles. If you cut a square in half just once diagonally, that is a half square triangle. You got 2 halves, and then quarter means you got 4. So I did a post on that after last week's project. So there we have our wreath. How many of you knew that that is where this was going? Tony was on it. So yes, Eleanor, it is an interesting pattern. And I'll have a surprise for you. Some of you will have it and some of you might not. I looked on in the last chance, and this item that I want to show you is already gone, but you might have gotten it when it was popular, and I think it was in the last mini catalog. If you've got it, it's a bonus for you. If not, you already know how to get this same shape. Okay? Linda says, is the marking and scoring critical for this design? It kind of is. Having the 3/4 on each side just helps get the shape, Linda. I don't know. We might just have to look at that. I think as long as you've got an octagon, which this is, we have 8 sides, so it's an octagon, not a hexagon. And you've got this spinning aperture, you should be good. So we're just taking a square and we're trying to get it to look as much like a circle as we can using triangles. Okay. Now, let's bring in, what did I do with, hold on you guys, oh here they are. I need to have my cheat one beside me. Okay, so I want to put something in the center of my wreath, and a 1-inch circle with a punch or a die works really well. Now I had to dig and go into some past Christmas stuff, because Christmas is not, I don't have a lot of Christmas embossing folders. Oh, you know what we got to do? We got to quilt this first. So I'm going to use the swirl embossing folder. I'm going to quilt this really quick and come back. I've got to like add to my inventory more Christmas stuff. That's what I found when I had to dig for old stuff because I don't have any new stuff. And if I have new stuff, it's probably like not current, because we're going to be getting more Christmas stuff with the next catalog. So I just put in some swirly, just some motion there. Again, if I had a Christmas, if I had any greenery dies, like pine branches or something, I probably could have used it, but I don't have hardly anything Christmas when it comes to embossing folders. So I just went with the swirl. Okay. Now let's get back on track here. Again, a 1-inch circle works really well there in the center. And for my bow, I had to dig. You guys, I had to dig. And I had this stamp set called Precious Pine Cones. And that's the bow that I used. And then I just fussy cut it. So if you have another bow stamp that you like, or you have a die cut of a bow, use that. If you don't have either, tie a bow with ribbon, okay? You just need a bow. And then your sentiment's going to need to be small enough to fit in that 1-inch circle. And so maybe you have a really old set called Itty Bitty Christmas. I did have that. But instead of digging that far back, you guys, I went back to Handmade Wishes and I pulled out the word joy. So you just need something that's going to fit in your center. Okay? So little trip down memory lane there with some older stuff. And then I put dimensionals on the back. And I am just going to put that right in the center of my wreath. And now doesn't it look even more Christmassy? Isn't it so cute? Now, and here's why I want you guys to don't think of this as just a wreath, okay? Because you could use any designer series paper. It's an octagon, you know, it's just another shape. And if you had put different designer series paper in here, maybe put some greenery behind it, it becomes just a focal point that you can build a cluster on. So try to keep an open mind. For me, it's hard to see it as anything but a wreath, but I know that as soon as I start playing with some other designer series paper, I can make this fit anywhere. Okay, so let's bring in, and I'm not done showing you some cool stuff. So let's bring in the card base. Now, I could do this in landscape, or I can do it in portrait, which I haven't done yet. All my samples were done in landscape. So I'm thinking, what if I did put it in portrait? Again, look at all this space. If you're a heavy embellisher, look at all this space you have. Hold on, I'm gonna, there. You have a lot of space that you can continue embellishing with. Now I'm thinking, maybe what if we just leave this in the center? The one thing you're going to want to remember is that you only want to attach it to this flap that that opens. If you put any adhesive here and close it, you're permanently closing your card. So just keep that in mind. And what I like to do is I'm just going to eyeball this and kind of find the halfway. And then you could either put your fingers where you don't want the glue, but I'm right-handed, so this is going to be pretty awkward. So what I need to do is I need to turn it around, put my non-dominant hand where I don't want any glue, and then put some glue on that side. Now, Let's just put it back. Okay. I'm just going to get that side I don't need out of the way. I'm just going to put it right about there. Make sure no glue is showing. And before it really sticks, close your card and just make sure that you're pretty straight. I don't want to try to use these stripes as a guide because these stripes are not completely straight. You can see that they, you know, they're like hand, like if you were just using a marker or something, they're not straight. So don't use those. You're going to just have to eyeball it. So now here's my card and portrait. You can have your Christmas greeting and room to write something. And the other, just one other thing that I want to show you is the hexagon, shades of green hexagons. Now, I went to these, not with, I did not even have these gems on my radar. I went through my embellishments and I couldn't find anything in red so that I could add like some berries to my wreath. So what I did was I got my cherry cobbler alcohol marker out, and there are some really, really light green, almost maybe white hexagons, and I colored them with the alcohol marker. And then what I can do is I'm going to take some of the smaller ones and I'm just going to place 3 like just to look like I've got some holly berries in there. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of the larger ones, and I think down here in this corner, I'm just going to use a couple more just for just a little bit more bling. Again, look at all the room you have to build on this wreath. But it also can be very simple. You know, when we're doing Christmas cards, if you're doing a lot of them, it's beyond wonderful to really do up your cards, probably more than you might for any other occasion. But if you do a lot of cards, that's a lot of work. If you're looking for quick and easy, and you can still have fun with piecing, you can keep this really simple. So again, these are the green hexagons, and it looks like Proud Peacock. This reminds me of Pool Party, Granny Apple Green, and this is a really like soft seafoam maybe, but it colored really easily with the red alcohol marker. And then you get those in 2 different sizes. Okay, so let me show you. Oh, do I want to? Okay, I'm not going to do it just yet. So here's my other one. And this was my prototype. So I've found ways to adjust my pattern and make it look a little nicer. This just seems like it's a square, but anyway, besides that, I did this one in landscape. Okay, so you've got your portrait, your landscape mode, and you could emboss, do some more quilting by embossing your backgrounds. I just like the look of clean, flat stripes. Okay. Now, here's what I want to mention, because the next 2 I'm going to show you, I used something else to get my Octagon. How many of you have the Memorable Blooms bundle. If you have this bundle, you have this die. And this is what I went off of to get my pattern that we could do by hand. You have an Octagon die. Okay, so if you've got this, you can die cut your Octagon and use the same triangles as we use today. This is only slightly bigger than the wreath that we made. It looks bigger, but it's only slightly bigger. And let me show you what that looks like on your cards. It's got some stitching, which ups your game for the look, okay? And it's slightly bigger, but this Octagon, this die is only 3 1/4 inch square. And we did 3 inch. So it's not like it's a super big improvement. But I think what it really adds is that you've got some stitching around the outside. So to me, that steps up the card, having the stitching. Okay, so again, and the other thing I did was I brought out more red. I used the Poppy Parade that I had stamped my bow on. And at first I didn't know if the red and greens were going to work, but I think it does. To me it does. Just brings in more Christmas colors. So again, here my wreath is off to the side. Here my wreath is in the middle. And these two wreaths were done with this Octagon die. And the dies are sold out. The stamp set is still in the last chance section of the shop, but this doesn't have anything to do with Christmas. But if you just happen to have this bundle from back when it was in the last mini catalog, you have this die and you can use this. Okay, so just kind of a bonus if you're trying to wonder what you can do with this. Use it to make a make it a wreath, okay, or any aperture. Again, please keep an open mind and just look at this as another shape. And these triangles are just creating an aperture, and then put some greenery behind it. You can totally change and not make this Christmas. Okay, so I am working on a PDF, and even though that die is a little bit bigger, I have worked out what your square and where you would make your lines if you wanted it a little bit bigger. So the die is 3 1/4 inch square, and we did a 3 inch square. Look, there's not that much difference. But if you think that little bit makes a difference, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the dimensions in the PDF. But really, you know, I don't think there's that much of a difference that you would have to do it any differently than what we did today. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'm hoping that somebody shares some cards over in our private group called Quilt Cards and More. I'm really going to be excited if I see somebody use this in a non-Christmas way. And again, that will give us more ideas. If your mind's eye just can't picture it right now, a lot of times when you see somebody else do it, then it clicks, and then you can see the possibilities, and you try it and have it work for you. So let's give away some cards. Let's see. what's the word I want to use to give away some cards? Let's just use the word joy. Okay? Comment with the word joy, and I'll draw some names and send some cards out to you. Okay? So, again, stay cool. If you're in the heat zone, please stay cool. Don't do, you know, if it doesn't have to be done today and it's something that's done outside, save it for a cooler day. Stay hydrated. And again, it's a really good excuse to stay inside and do some crafting. Whether it's paper crafting, knitting, crocheting, whatever you do, today's a good day to do it. Okay? Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I will later on today see what maybe you're posting in that private group. And speaking of the private group, can I take a minute just to say, there are join questions that I ask people to answer so that I can get a feel for, you know, I'm trying to weed out the ones that really I don't think are trying to get into the group for the right reasons. If you invite your friends, which I would love to have, you know, your friends here. They do need to answer those questions. So maybe you can just send them the link and say, hey, check this group out. If it's something you're interested in, answer Julie's questions, and then you'll have access to the PDFs and her other quilt card projects, okay? Everybody have a blessed day. Stay cool. And I will be looking for your creations later this afternoon. Talk to you later.